All right. Here we are. It is another fascinating episode of From the Margins with our friend Jimmy Afan. Good afternoon, Jimmy. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. It's a great week. Everything is kind of screwed up, but hey, I learned to expect the unexpected and to learn to live with what I call a crazy USA. But otherwise, we're good.
We are in some interesting times. First off the bat, Jimmy, let's talk about free speech, defending free speech.
Let me start by saying something that some of you might not understand, but if you give me a minute, I will explain it. I want to dedicate today's topic about free speech to Charlie Kirk. Nobody exercised free speech better than him. And nobody, like me, respects offensive free speech. I think if he was alive, he would be fighting those who are trying to censor free speech in the Republican Party, those who went in the FCC and said, hey, we don't like what you said about Charlie, it's kind of offensive, and we're going to take away your license. Uh, the king of doing offensive and taking to the limit free speech was Charlie. So if you really, really want to honor his memory, defend free speech, even if it offends you.
Yes.
Let me explain to you. Offensive speech is free speech. The only thing that is not free speech is a threat or violence. Obviously, that is not free speech. But
Right.
if I say that somebody is a jerk, that's my free speech. If say that I think that President Trump is corrupt, that is my free speech. If I say that the Secretary of Treasury and the Secretary of Housing are two crazy dudes who almost went out and duked it out in a club in Washington, D.C., and they acted like stupid kids, that's free speech, even though it's true too, but that's beside the point. Uh,
Okay.
he said things about liberals that I disagree with him. He said that we were soft on crime. He said that we were soft on defense. He said that we were soft on police protection, and so on and so on. I disagree with almost everything he said, but I would fight to defend his right to say it. That is free speech. I will defend your right to say things that offend me. Not This is not politically correct speech. You know what's really funny? There was a program that was called politically correct that was with Bill Maher,
Bill Maher, yes.
and then they started to call it politically incorrect, and people would not say blacks, they would say African Americans. You do not say this, you say that. That was all considered politically correct. Okay.
Right.
Uh, if you want to talk about people who are not politically correct, that's one thing. You know who's trying to be politically correct now? The right, the MAGA, and the Republicans. You said something that offended me, Jimmy Kimmel. You're off the air. Okay, that's so. Who's now the king of politically correct? The Republican Party, because if it offends you, that should not be said, and that should be censored. So who's now the people who do this? The left? Not really. It is the right and the MAGA. Realistically, politically correct is bullshit. Okay, politically correct. I'll tell you what is politically correct. If you believe in something and you say it, it is politically correct in your mind, in your circle, and in your life. Now, does that mean that I have to accept what you say? No, not at all. Can I disagree with you? Yes. You know what we used to have? There was a great movie that was created by Denzel Washington. Not a lot of you people forget it. It was called The Debaters. It was about an African American group of debaters in college who went to Harvard and different schools to debate.
Mhm.
Debate was a great thing in the United States. Every college has a debate team. And debate team, one takes one side, and the other takes the other, and they argued intelligently and respectfully. Today, nowadays, we don't have debates. We have insults. And
Yes.
That's what America's come to. But
Yeah.
that is free speech. Okay, so if I agree with everything Charlie said, Kirk said, no, but I would die to defend his right to say it. So if he was alive, he would say, hey, 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 that was offensive, but that's free speech. So if you really want to honor his memory, if you really, really want to talk about free speech, do not permit the people who are now trying to censor the things that are being said against him. Because basically, that is free speech at its maximum. And he, if you ever listen to his exchange, he believed in that vividly.
That's
So,
true.
so,
Very true.
so if we're going to honor free speech, this is what is free speech? Me defending the most stupid thing that could come out of your mind, the most offensive thing that could come out of your mouth, the most offensive thing that you might write out in a newspaper, the most offensive thing you might write in a banner and have it in a parade. With all due respect, free speech even includes, according to the Supreme Court, at least the one that understood the law, not the one that we have today,
Mhm.
includes burning the flag. So
Right.
I have done my free speech thingy for today. I might have some more later.
Jimmy,
But
can I add because you brought up the Jimmy Kimmel issue, and I remember when Jimmy Kimmel was coming up, and he was this pudgy white dude who had a show called The Man Show or something like that with Adam Carolla, and
and they said a lot
ABC.
of offensive things.
What's that?
And they said a lot of offensive things.
They sure did. They sure did.
And they had a
And
beer with them and
girls on trampolines.
yeah. Yeah. What they were trying to say is, hey, this problem is not politically correct. And it wasn't.
Right. It wasn't at all. And, the ABC, whose parent company is Disney, decided to suspend him indefinitely. And they're trying to figure out how to bring him back for something that wasn't really offensive, in my opinion, that warrant this action. However, also knowing that Disney has a deal in front of the FCC to merge, I think, two networks or two media companies. That's an issue right there. And perhaps this was a move to curry favor with the Trump administration. But there's some hypocrisy. And my conservative friends are going to maybe hoot and holler about this, but this was a really jackass move by Disney. There's hypocrisy here, especially, and also the conservative and the MAGA who support this, because during the Biden administration, when Biden decided to tell social media platforms to cut down and stop the misinformation about COVID vaccines and everything related to COVID, the conservatives went ballistic. They're like, oh, that's crazy. You can't do that, blah, 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 blah. And now you see the direct opposite. The hypocrisy is crazy. And also, one last thing, I was telling this to um, my friend Andreas. I was playing tennis. I was answering a question. He's like, what's my thoughts? And I said, well, from a business perspective, this is an opportunity for Jimmy Kimmel to have his own sandbox, create his own a brand online, like Megyn Kelly, like his former co-host Adam Carolla, and create his own media company like the Daily Signal and his own show online. He'll probably do a lot better. Don Lemon did it after leaving, his network. So, that's a lesson
Well,
for.
you don't have to go that far. ABC, this is not the first time that they've screwed up. And that's why I've never been a Disney fan. And I'm sorry, I'm not.
Yeah.
Uh, they did that to Bill Maher. And I'm not a fan of Bill Maher. Let me start by that. I'm not a fan of Bill.
Sure.
Bill Maher's knowledge of politics could be put in my pinky, and I would still have a lot of space left to use it.
I agree with you.
Politics. He knows shit about politics. Okay, but They took him down because of a comment that they said, and they thought that this was going to be the end of Bill Maher. A lot of people thought that. Bill Maher got a very healthy contract with HBO and has been doing real time for the last 20 some years and is a millionaire. So,
Yes.
Jimmy, go talk to HBO, talk to
Yep.
Cinemax. You might, Cinemax is completely politically incorrect. You will be fitting in Cinemax perfectly
Right.
with no problem. Go to Showtime. I mean,
Yep.
what I'm trying to say, yes, uh, night TV is no good. But you know
Trash.
what we should do is tell the people, hey, ABC doesn't care about you. They care about their back pocket. So from now on, boycott uh, ABC. Somebody doing, but what about Monday Night Football? You can see it in SPM. You're the same owner. You're right. That's fine. You can also listen on to the radio.
That's right.
You,
Listen to it on XM, on Sirius XM. That's right.
you could do it. There's a lot of other ways you could do it. With all due respect, once the numbers go down for ABC and they realize that people are pissed off with them, that's fine. Look, right now, you and I live in here, and Disney is hurting here in Orlando. Why? Well, the Canadians are not coming. Well, why? We all know Donald Trump. Yes, I don't need, but the Canadians are pissed off with the U.S. because
Yeah.
they feel that the U.S. is backing Trump and treating them poorly, which to a certain degree they're right. Uh, the other thing is that basically because of the tariffs, people from other countries are not coming because they are also pissed off with us. So they are hurting in Disney World. ABC has had some serious problems.
Mhm.
CBS passed it. It's number two, but not that far away from NBC. And what is interesting is that last night Jimmy Fallon went and criticized what they did to Jimmy Kimmel, and NBC is doing has nothing to do with it. Uh, ABC and Disney is a gutless corporation that doesn't have the cojones to take on the FCC. Take them on. Trust me. The person in charge right now, he's not too smart up here. He says stupid things that he should have never said. He should have never gone to Fox and threatened people. That
Yes, that's
lawsuit
right.
potential. But ABC doesn't have the guts to do that. As a matter of fact, under the rules, if you take a few minutes, you can ask that person to recluse himself because he's prejudiced against uh, uh, Disney. So, with that said, yes, but you know, we need to create something right now. TV is dying. It's dying. It's now everything is streaming. Now it's
That's right.
Paramount Plus. Now it's a Hulu. Now it's
YouTube.
Fubu, YouTube, and everything else is there. By the way, I think that Monday Night Football is on YouTube. You can check that out.
Yes,
Maybe.
it is. Yes.
Okay.
YouTube TV or whatever they call it. Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay. So you might want to do. And by the way, Thursday night is Prime. So if you have Prime, you can watch Thursday Night Football.
There you
What
go.
I'm trying to do is say this: if Disney is against free speech, which obviously Disney is against free speech, stop boycotting it. Stop buying Disney products. Stop
Yeah.
going to Disney World. Stop
Yep.
using ABC and stop doing everything. Hit them where they want in their pocket. And by the way, this is not even an original thought of mine because in the 70s and the 80s, the religious right of what today is MAGA would contact advertisers of stations that carry
That's right.
programs that they didn't like and they
That's right.
started boycotting them. So it's not new. The only thing is that instead of the MAGA doing it now, hey, the left would do it.
Yeah.
And this is strange because I've never considered ABC a pro right station, but I do consider it a gutless uh, TV station. So as far as I'm concerned, they don't even have any good programming that I watch anyway. And now that they don't have Jimmy, my 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 tocayo, what I call in Puerto Rico, somebody with my same name, there's nothing to see in ABC that's worthwhile. So, bye bye. Because Dancing with the Stars, they're not stars. I don't even know who they are.
I know. Yes. I
So
stopped watching that years ago.
I know. So what stars? I don't know any of these people. oh, well, they have a podcast. So that makes me a star. So watch me soon. Dancing with the Stars. Just joking.
That's right.
Okay.
Jimmy, I know that the Supreme Court in the past, I think there was a 1963 case that the Supreme Court made it clear that government can have its opinion. However, it cannot coerce the private sector into doing what it wants it to do in regards to freedom of speech issues. And I believe it was a case going back to 1963. The NRA was involved. And again, I believe they chimed in on the whole Biden having the conversation with social media about, stating X, Y, and Z about misinformation and what social media companies should do in regards to that. So I know the Supreme Court, if this ever gets to if this situation or a similar situation gets to the Supreme Court, you would think they'll be consistent in their past opinions.
Not really.
So that one
Let me give you one example. You are from a premise that makes sense to you,
yes.
but in the last 4 years, there was a decision that we all knew by heart: Roe versus Wade,
Yes.
which is a previous decision, which said that a woman had a right to her body. And what did they do? They went back on it because now they're conservative and they're religious and they have their religious beliefs about it, and they declared it invalid. It would not be the first time. The latest decisions out of the Supreme Court is that the president has immunity. So I suppose if the president kills somebody, that you cannot prosecute him. I'm just saying. They did not explain what type of limitations they had or didn't. So, but they said he had immunity. They basically have let this president do some wild and crazy things. So the fate that they're going to follow what the justices did in 1963 is zero, because none of those justices are in the Supreme Court today. They're all dead. And the ones that we have today, I'm not sure how they would perceive this. So I would have a certain disagreement that they would defend free speech. And not so much as that they defend it, is that I don't think, and I'm going to say this very respectfully, they have the same concept that I have of what free speech is. I think they still think that offensive speech can be controlled by the government. And this is the problem that I have, and I have it with Biden. Lying is still free speech. I'm sorry. You could lie, but I could call you out and say, you're a liar, and that's still free speech too.
That's
But,
true.
if you're going to say, hey, you're giving misinformation, well, I don't know if you ever saw The Big Bang Theory.
I've seen a few episodes.
Huh?
I've seen a few episodes, yes.
There's a scene with Sheldon and his mother, and he says he's going to stay in Texas teaching okay. And his mother says to him, hey, by the way, that's your opinion. No, that's fact. No, that is your opinion. And that's where we have to understand. Some people say that we came through the monkeys and Homo sapiens, and we developed into humans that we are today. And some say that we come from Adam and Eve. There's two theories. One is supposedly scientific, and the other is by faith. I understand that. But what I'm trying to say, everybody has their own theory of how we got here. And sometimes what I call theories are complete misinformation. Most people will say, please remember the Maine, because they still think that the Maine was bombarded by the Spanish and Cuba. The truth of the matter, it's been proven that the boiler exploded and that took down the ship. Yeah. It was not that the Spanish attacked the boat, but it was the excuse that the United States needed to get into the war.
That's right.
That's something completely different. There are those who believe to this day that Pearl Harbor The U.S. knew about it, but they allowed it to happen so they could get into World War II. Uh, is there proof either way? No. There are people who still believe that Democrats eat children and that they go to Pizzagate. I mean, I'm sorry, there are. And if you want misinformation and lies, Q, which has not been pronounced lately, but Q for years was
Yes.
was based on lies. We all know that. So,
Right.
but they have the right to say lies. So when Biden's people were contacting Meta and other groups and say, "Hey, these people are lying online." Yeah, it's freedom of speech. For Pete's sake, if you take away lies from free speech, Donald Trump can't talk. If you say you cannot lie in politics, Donald Trump cannot talk. He has to remember because
He
everything
knows
that
how
comes
to
out of
use the
his mouth
bully
is a lie.
pulpit.
And and most MAGA people that I know admit to me, yeah, he's a liar, but at least he's one of us. I'm not sure how he's one of you because he's a billionaire. He's a corrupt person.
Right.
So if he's one of you, you're a billionaire and you're a corrupt person. No, 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 no. That's not what I mean. No, I know what you mean. He's white.
Mm, mm, mm. I don't understand, but everyone has, like you said, their opinion, and they're
Yes.
free. They're free to speak it, and you and I will defend it to the end of days.
Yeah.
So, so to kind of go along with what you were saying about Charlie Kirk, it appears that for at least those on the right, they seem emboldened by this tragedy to continue his legacy. Jimmy, from your observation, has the Democrats been, or the liberals, the other side of the political spectrum? Do you see any type of movement, any type of enthusiasm to embrace, what Charlie Kirk stood for?
I think Democrats believe in free speech. I do.
Hmm.
Do they agree with what came out of his mouth? No.
No,
But they would agree it was free speech.
sure,
Just like I know that there's MAGA people who listen to this podcast and don't agree with me. And that's fine. I don't
yeah,
ask them to, but this is my freedom of speech. He has his. The thing that I think that is kind of interesting is that it's the reverse. And this is the reverse. Now that you bring
okay,
it up, I'm going to try to go to certain things. They killed two elected officials in Minnesota.
correct,
And as other than saying it's tragic, and they were killed by somebody in the right. So a MAGA person that the manifesto and everything proves it. So let's stop pretending now.
okay,
They said, let's pick their thing up. Not really. Uh,
yeah,
the crazy people who killed uh, uh, the people in the synagogues, has the Democrats done anything? No.
no,
Look, we need to guns kill people. That's there's no doubt about. But really, the problem that we have in this country is a problem of mental health. With all due respect, you could be as crazy as President Trump and have a weapon. And proof of this is the young man who killed Charlie Kirk. I think a lot of people would tell you was not well. He had an infatuation with against Charlie Kirk, which
yes,
I don't know if it was political or if that he said something that offended him. I don't know. Some people saying that it was because he said something against people like him or people, whatever. Or those things because the truth of the matter, I don't think he was ultra left. I think it was more he had something against Charlie, and yes, meant the young kid who shot at Donald Trump. We know he had mental health issues.
oh
Okay,
yes, he did.
so basically, if the left and the Democrats want to take up something, take up that we have to do something about our mental health. Our mental health is killing us. Listen to what I'm saying. Not guns. Our mental health, untreated mental health conditions are killing us. Other people, if not most of the people who have committed all these crimes, have severe mental health issues. Okay? Uh, uh, Look, let's stop pretending that they don't. They do. Because if you think that the way to resolve your political differences is by killing people, it's not going to work. Only a moron would think that way. So, yes, it is a mental health issue. So, if the Democrats want to take a point, don't talk against the guns. Talk about, and I'm going to make something that most Republicans agree with. Nobody who is under mental health medication for depression, anxiety, uh, PSDD, bipolar, or any of those conditions should have a gun in his hands. Simple. I'm not saying that we're going to take away your guns. I'm just saying if you're not dealing, if you have severe mental health issues, you should not have a gun. Oh, but so everybody who's depressed should not have a gun? There's a reason why psychiatrists ask you always the same question. Do you have any homicidal ideas or do you have any suicidal ideas? You know that the majority of people in this country who die by gunshots do not die because somebody shot at them. It's because they shot at themselves. Suicide is the largest of all deaths caused by guns. It really is. And it's not even close to people shooting each other. You want to talk about Chicago murders? 13. You want me to tell you about the same Chicago suicide that week? In the 40s. You want me to talk to you about veterans? Veterans have a 20-some% of suicide.
That's right.
Okay? So, and what did they use? Very few of them use pills. Take too long.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. It takes too long. It takes 4 or 5 hours.
No, you're right.
And they don't want to go through that agony. They just shoot themselves. So basically, it's not only that they will shoot you, they shoot themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they don't have a gun, they want to use pills. That's fine. I understand that. And I'm not trying to pretend here. The problem that I have is I have a friend of mine whose wife, he walked into the house and she had blown her brains out, and that he's not doing well mentally. He found her like that. Was she depressed? Yes. Was she on medication? Yes. Was she able to have a gun? No. She had 4.
Whew. Yikes.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is we have a mental health issue. If you are under mental health treatment, you should not have a gun. Why? Because it's a good chance you're going to kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're okay with people killing themselves, that's fine. That is your right. I'm not.
And Jimmy, as a former crisis consultant who consulted with those who were suicidal in the past, I just want to let people know that there is help out there if you're experiencing any type of mental health episode, suicide, depression. There is help out there. There's the suicide prevention hotline here in Central Florida in Orange County. There's 311. In Illinois, my home state, in the northwest suburbs, there's the McHenry County Crisis Hotline. So there are services, whether it's a phone call, online, or of course, there's your primary physician, your clergy, your rabbi, your imam. There is help out there. So I just wanted to lay that out there, Jimmy.
And I agree with you that there's help out there, but we should give them another thing to help. And this, I look at it in a different way than most people. You want to talk about talking to somebody? That's fine. But you talk to somebody and you have a gun in front of you? That worries me to no avail.
Yeah.
And I've heard more than one volunteer tell me that they have been talking to people down online, and that doesn't always work.
That's true.
So what I'm trying to say to you is, and this is something that blows my mind, we do not allow people to have certain drugs because they're dangerous.
Right.
but we allow them to have a gun when they have severe mental health problems, and the records, the doctor thinks it's important to them enough for them to say, "Hey, do you have suicidal ideations? Do you have homicides? Have you had thoughts in the last 48 hours about killing yourself?
Right.
Have you had the thoughts in the last 48 hours about killing somebody else?" You have a doctor asking that question because he or she has a concern, but it's okay for them to have a gun. That's the problem that I have. You know, if you want to talk about gun, it's not gun control, it's saving lives. We
Mhm.
have more than 10,000 deaths by suicide using a gun
Wow.
every 3 months.
That's too. That's too much. That's
One
too
is
much.
too much.
One too much.
And we have veterans, okay? We have housewives. We have single mothers.
Hmm.
You want me to keep going on here? We have grandmothers.
Yeah.
If you think it's only some crazy people, no. I know the friend that I'm talking about. He Money was not a problem. The kids were great kids,
Mm.
great kids. They were teenagers. They were great kids. They were not on drugs. They were doing well in school. Everything was fine. She lived in a very affluent neighborhood in Avalon Park, and she decided. So when people think, well, uh, that only happens to, no, no, no.
No,
Depression,
no. Everyone.
depression is something that happens to everybody. And something. Let me give you a little bit about mental health that people do not understand. Mental health, like the color of your eyes, like the color of your hair, like the color of your skin, like the color, like your genes, is part of your genes. If you had an uncle and aunt who had depression, PSTD, bipolar, anxiety, schizophrenia, which is another condition that most people do not understand. I've known schizophrenic people who have killed themselves because a voice told them to kill themselves. And that's why they kill themselves.
Yep.
Uh, the thing is, we do not need, and I'm going to say this again, we do not need guns to kill yourselves. And it's the number one cause of death by firearms. It is suicide. So all I'm saying is,
Mhm.
if you have mental health issues and you're on the mental health medication, you should not have a gun. As a matter of fact, one thing we agree in this country that people forget about? If you and your wife get into a fight, it is legal to order that the husband or the wife render their guns to the court. And we're fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
So if
Yeah.
you're into mental health, render your gun to the court or to whatever entity you want to say. And once your doctor says he's fine, here's your gun back. And why do they use guns? Because it's quicker, it's easier, and it's less painful. If you cut your veins like they show you in the certain movies, that's too time consuming. As a matter
Seen
of
that
fact,
way too many times.
as a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw Equalizer 3.
Yes. Yes, I did, sir.
At the end, the drug lord is forced to use his drugs, and he's with his watch and says, "You're gonna die in 6 minutes," and that was an agonizing death.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why. That's why they use the guns. Just so people know.
That's true. You're quoting a lot of Denzel Washington today.
I'm a good fan.
Me too, me also. Excellent. Yeah, there's three of us. There was someone else who was speaking about Denzel Washington as one of his favorites. So excellent. Awesome. Speaking of Washington D.C., we currently have the continuing resolution for the budget passing the House of Representatives, of course, by a thin margin, and now headed to the Senate. Your thoughts, real quick, Jimmy, on a pending, and we always hear this, what, twice a year, three times a year, the pending um, defunding, not defunding, but the pending closure of government or whatever they call it.
Well, Let me put it this way. I'm going to say something that I said yesterday, and I'm going to repeat myself. I wasn't on air, so I'm to the friends that I said this to, you might. Defunding the government is a popular thing that the Republicans have invented because our problems are created by our government. Really? Uh, I work, as you know, in doing handling Social Security disability claims. I know of two single moms that were let go by Dutch. If that's okay with you, it's not okay with me. Were they the most efficient employees in the world? No. Were they bad? No. They were typical employees. I
Sure.
called them, hey, and they would go into the system and try to help me out.
Right.
And they were very efficient in their job. But because they were new, uh, they got fired. Two single moms. Okay. You want them to fire people? They were single moms. Why am I bringing this up? Because continued resolutions. Let me explain what a continued resolution is. You keep funding the government at the same level which we have been funding it for the last 12 years. Why do I say this? Because we haven't had a budget.
Right.
We haven't sat down and say, what is needed? Oh, Social Security, you might need to update your software. How much is that going to cost? $18 million. Okay, let me put here $18 million so you can update your software. We're just talking of things that are necessary. Oh, uh, U.S. Department of Defense. Let me then, you need what? Let me find my, what they take is they take the same amount and then they take from Peter to steal from Paul, and that way they survive. And if you could call that surviving. Right now, a continual resolution will keep funding the government. It's what they call back in Chicago, kicking the can down the road.
How true.
You're going to
Very
come
true.
up. You're going to come up and say, "Oh, we did this until January of next year." So we go home and tell our people that everything is okay, and the government is continue working. It's working at a deficit. It's working deficiently. And you know why it's working deficiently? Because the idiots in the U.S. House of Representatives, in the U.S. Senate, have not funded the government at the level that it needs to be funded. There are employees in the federal government who have not had a significant raise in 12 years. Yet you have employees of confidence that are a waste of money. You have a Secretary of the Treasury, Mr. Bassett, who basically his only claim to fame is that he offered to slap the Secretary of Housing in the face in public. Uh, Other than that, his qualifications as Secretary of the Treasury are. And by the way, do you know who he used to work with?
Bassett. I should know this. I think he's a hedge fund hedge fund manager of some sort. Um, I don't know. I don't know.
Soros.
Really?
Yes, the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States is somebody who learned most of his knowledge with Soros, who is an enemy of the Republican Party. Yeah, just poetic justice. God,
You can't make this up.
no, you can't make this shit up. And you can't make the shit up that they at a dinner, Bassett went up to the Secretary of Housing. I think his name is William something. I can't remember.
um, um, Housing. Jimmy, I see his face. Uh, Give me a moment. I'll pull it
And
up.
he's
But
a
go ahead.
developer, for the record, just so you know. Um, and what he's doing is basically taking money in exchange, and offered to punch him in the face and take him down, or he left, or he would leave. So it was that's a very classy Republican Secretary of the Treasury and Secretary of Housing. And by the way, I knew personally
Pulte.
Pulte. That's correct.
Bill
Pulte
Pulte.
Construction. You're right. They build houses. So
Yes,
basically,
I
so
had one.
so basically, this is where we have come down to. Uh, And I knew personally and still know a former Secretary of Housing,
Oh, really? That was
Man Martinez.
that's right. Yes, yes, yes. Former mayor of Orange County.
He said, correct.
That's
Now,
right.
before he became famous, would have lunch and talk about many things. Yeah, so it is interesting that we have reached this point. We have reached a point where basically even MAGA people are fighting to prove who's more MAGA. Uh,
Yeah.
I find that fascinating. But yes, in response to all this, we have a problem. But a continuing resolution is continuing to
To kick the
fund
can.
the government at the same level, and that's been going on for the last 12 years. Every other 3 or 4 months, you hear it. You know, sit down and create a budget. Do your job. You know that the Constitution says that it is the job of the legislative branch to create a budget and send it to the president to sign.
That's correct. That is very true.
I don't. They have not done that in a long time.
Oh boy, abdication of their duties, so to
Oh,
speak.
hey, what are you talking about? Right now, the president eliminated 2 departments of government.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the legislature, but they let him do whatever he wants. It's his toys and it's his car, and if they don't play with him, he takes away everything from them.
That's our government. Speaking of our government, Jimmy, and speaking of Orange County, we had a visit from the Florida Agency for Fiscal whatever, otherwise known as Florida Doge, the Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ngolia had a press conference here, and he talked about how Orange County government uh, has spent $200 million or close to $200 million in a manner that could go towards the savings for taxpayers, payments or allocations that is wasteful. And the mayor of Orange County, Jerry Demings, pushed back, and Mayor Demings is looking to run for governor. However, the mayor and local news outlets like the Orlando Sentinel have stated that the numbers are wrong and that there's justification for every penny. What's your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Well, the reason that they are prosecuting Orange County is 3 points. One, this is the strongest Democratic county in the state. Okay, that's that, in the whole state, and probably the most liberal. Two, basically, Orange County has taken certain things that today offend the MAGA. We used to have the minority business thing, which was for
Right.
minorities, which included women,
That's right.
Hispanic, and African Americans to help them achieve equality. Uh, that they basically forced us to disband and so on. We have an attack from Tallahassee based on lies to destroy Orange County. Let me start with the first one. The first one is basically what you just quoted, $200 million that were wasteful. But the moron forgot one thing. Where? You just threw a number that you pull out of your rear end and said, it's wasteful. Well, which money was wasteful? Oh, no, no, we're not going to tell you that. And when we ask and try to quote where, he would just say, no, 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 we don't have. He just pulled it out of his rear end. There is no way. The county opened itself to other entities, check us and see if there's it. And they say, no, no, there's no waste here. Now, can they have an opinion that clean water is a waste of money? And they could.
Okay.
We have clean water. Can they say that buying us dinner when we set both of us at the redistricting committee was a waste of money. I didn't think it was a waste. I enjoyed it, and so did you, but they might come up and say that's a waste of tax dollars. It wasn't, but they were. And, it's a matter of interpretation. I've found it fascinating that he's never said what. But we do know that our controller found that Visit Orlando has wasted our money. But because
They
that's
on
a white
YouTube.
Republican organization, they have not said anything about that. Okay. Uh, then we have our white attorney general chastising our African American state attorney as much as he can. I would
Oh
not
yeah.
say that he is misquoting the law. I'm just saying he's interpreting it wrong. When he said that the young lady who got into and killed somebody during that incident on the street, that she felt threat, and that because she said she felt threat, the state attorney should never file charges is incorrect. Let me educate you again because I've done this twice. Yeah, but I know you were never a criminal defense attorney. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure what type of attorney you were, other than a MAGA person. Okay. Uh, that is a legitimate defense. What is a defense? You go to trial, you present your self defense uh, 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 before the jury, and if the jury is convinced that this was self defense, the jury will acquit you. Simple and good. It is not a deciding factor for prosecution.
Okay.
Correct. It is not a deciding factor for prosecution. And for the record, this evidence was taken to the grand jury, and they found him. They decided to indict her. The grand jury, a
That's right.
group of people of your own peers, listen to the evidence. And one of the things that he forgot to mention, we have, to a certain degree, what we call a reasonable defense. And let me tell you what I mean by reasonable defense. I'll give you an example of Indiana Jones. I like to use movies for example. In Indiana Jones, this guy's with a sword, and Indiana gets pissed off and just shoots him. That's not the same thing. Now, was it self-defense? Definitely. But there's a certain theory that there has not been any evidence that the gentleman who got ended dead was really in the position to harm her. There was an argument, there were threats,
Right.
but there was not, he had not shot at her. Let me put it this way, he had not shot at her at all. But she felt that she had to defend herself, and I respect that. Let her present that to a jury. If the jury
Yes.
agrees that she has committed self-defense, that's fine. So the attorney general, when you're saying that she has not complied with her requirements as state attorney, go back to law school. Really, go back to law school. And I would love to defy you to come to this program, and I'm going to make it. Come to this program. Let's argue the point. You and me. I will educate you as to what self-defense is. Okay. And by the way, it's something that you learn in criminal law 101. It's not that difficult. If you are threatened, you have the right to defend yourself as long as the threat is genuine and is imminent. In other words, if I say, go fuck yourself, and if you don't go fuck yourself, I'm going to kill you, but I don't have a weapon in my hand, that doesn't give you the right to pull out a gun and kill. Just so we understand self-defense.
Mhm. Attorney General Altmaier has is giving our state's attorney Monique Worrell a lot of work lately. Not only this particular case, Jimmy, but also his plea to State's Attorney Worrell to take up a case against former State Senator Linda Stewart, obstruction case. I think Attorney General Altmaier wants to have Senator Stewart charged with for stating simply on social media. I was going to say Facebook, but I'm not too sure. But on social media, stating in simple terms that ICE agents were at the Lynx bus station, and and this goes back to our original conversation about free speech. It seems like there's a there's this habit of overreach out of the attorney general's office on things that he he should just stay out of.
He can't because he is a MAGA bitch. You know who started this?
Who's
Loomer.
that?
Loomer.
Uh, yeah, yeah,
She started it.
yeah.
She found it
Yeah,
out. She
this is what
published
she
it,
does.
and he thinks that the attorney general. Let me educate you, because apparently you don't understand your job. Is to allow the other counties to do their job and assist them in doing their job, and not instruct them into doing their job. With all due respect, that's one. Two, I don't care what Miss Loomer says. That is not obstruction. I don't care what you say. That is not obstruction. You would have to prove that prevented the people of ICE of doing their job. It didn't. You can't prove that. And you know you cannot prove that, but you're talking to an audience of one. Either you're going to be our attorney general and do your job, or just quit because you're not competent, you're not doing your job correctly. Second of all, it is not your job to go on social media and
Yeah,
tell a local prosecutor what to do or not to do. That is not
enough.
your job. If you want to contact them, either via letter, if you want to contact them either via email, if you want to contact them either via phone, that is your prerogative as a citizen of this state.
Yeah,
But try to intimidate people on social media, shame on you. If you want to become a bully, let's go for it, because you're not in my league. You're not. You don't have my 45 years of experience in the legal profession. You don't, and you don't understand trials like I do, because you never have done really a large criminal trial. I have aided, or I was second take in two murder trials. Let's go for it. Take it on. I was a public defender for 7 years, and I handle rape, murder, and all those in trial. Let's go for it. I will teach you how this works, and I will teach you how juries react or don't react. But with all due respect, start doing your job. There's a lot of corruption in this state that you're not prosecuting, including in your own office. So at this time,
yeah.
I would advise you to stop harassing people, stop bullying. As a matter of fact, and again, for the third time, I invite you to debate anytime, any place, anywhere. And I will educate you in the laws of the state of Florida.
We're going to have to reach out on behalf of this program and also the Jay in Washington Network and extend that invitation to Attorney General Altmaier. And on another matter, we're contacting the Chief Financial Officer, Blaise Angolia, in regards to the Doge audit. So perhaps this fall, we're going to have some great guests and some great
Oh,
content.
oh, come on. They're both cowards. They know they cannot debate the point, because once they're asked to produce their evidence, they have none. He knows that the only reason he's doing this is because he wants to have the favor of Loomer and to have the favor of the president, because he knows this is not obstruction. And if he doesn't, then he has no business sitting in that chair.
Yeah, yeah,
And the other thing, the thing of saying, well, if this is self-defense, if he doesn't realize that a self-defense is something you present at trial. Now, if you want to talk duty to retrieve, that's a complete different thing. But a duty to retrieve, you have to be threatened. You don't have the duty to retrieve used to be you first had to retrieve before you use your gun. But that requires that you're being threatened by a gun.
right.
You're not being threatened by a gun, duty to retrieve. does not apply. But I'm trying to educate our attorney general because he doesn't understand criminal law, and I understand he was a civil lawyer, and I'm not sure what type of cases he handled, but he does not understand how this works. So we'll go from there.
Well, we will extend that invitation to the Attorney General. Attorney General, if you or one of your surrogates are watching this, please contact us. Drop us a comment in the comment section.
And tell us a phone number. We'll call you and we'll sit down. And the only condition is that we will do this in the same room at the same time and live.
Oh, boy, this is
to be edited.
I'll make sure this is going to be a short form content right here. Jimmy is throwing down the gauntlet. Jimmy, one more topic, and this is something that I observed. I was just looking at some voter data, and I learned that in one specific House district that I'm just curious. I may get involved in that election, and I was just looking at the numbers, Jimmy. And this particular district is pretty much evenly split among the major affiliations, Republican, Democrat, and non-party. And for a while, there was an edge given to the Democrats. And I went poking around in the numbers. And Jimmy, now among the voter age population, active voters, the Republicans now have an edge. And as you drill down into the numbers even further, those likely to turn out for the next general election in 2026 at a 75% rate or more, the Republicans have a greater advantage than the Democrats, with the NPAs not too far behind. Jimmy, for a district that is evenly split at one point, the Democrats having a slight edge, now it's the Republicans. And of course, the NPA is playing an important role. I'm not punching down on the Democrats. However, they got an issue here.
They've had an issue for some time, and let's stop pretending. Right now, if you went in to check how many of those NPAs are new NPAs, it's because a lot of people have abandoned the Democratic Party and became NPAs, just like in the early 2000s, a lot of Republicans abandoned the Republican Party and became NPAs, and still to this day they're doing that. We know that. Yes. The truth of the matter is that, and I've said this in this program, I'm going to say it again, the Florida Democratic Party is not doing its job. The Florida Democratic Party is not doing its job. I'm not even sure what it's doing, to be quite honest, because right now we have positions that they have not done anything to recruit. Do we have a candidate for Secretary of Agriculture? I don't know of it. Do we have one for CFO? I don't know of it. Do we have one for Attorney General? I don't know of it. Do we have one for the U.S. Senate? Yes, we have somebody from Brevard County. I think she's on the school board, and she decided to run for the U.S. Senate. Whoopee. She has great name recognition. Okay, I'm sarcastic. I apologize. She doesn't. This is the thing. What is the Democratic Party doing? How much money do they have in the war chest to help somebody to run for Secretary of Agriculture, for Attorney General, for CFO, and I could continue going down the line. For governor, who are we running? An ex-Republican again, because we haven't learned our fucking lesson. Democrats are going to vote for a Republican. We ran Charlie Crist twice, and how well did that go for us? Yeah. But now we're going to do another Republican, and he's going to do it because we cannot find a Democrat to run for governor. Really? That is the Florida Democratic Party. So with all respect, it's not us. It is the Florida Democratic Party, who I'm calling out again, you're not doing your job.
And as I'm a
Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. I'm a proud Democrat. So I could call you out. No,
Mhm.
no, no, no. I have not changed.
Mhm.
You are not doing your job. I'm calling you out for not doing your job.
Mhm.
Okay? They have let the little parties run and be self-sufficient. And in those counties where there's money and Democrats can raise money, like Orange County, that's fine. There's a lot of small and medium-sized counties that can raise the sufficient money. They can get the candidates, and even if they do get them, they don't have the funds to run them. Nor do
Right.
they have the accessory. Look, I'm going to say something I said recently in front of Orange County's county commissioner. There are 4 county commissioners there, four, four that I helped with their election. Okay, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
And I could say, sit down, say, this is what you need to do. This is what, and we can plan a democratic victory. But it's as simple as understanding. The other day, somebody came to me that you know, and the gentleman said to me, "I want to be a county commissioner. What do I need to do?" And you know what my response was to him?
What was that?
Change your gender. How many men sit on the of the 6? One. And that is why is our mayor a male? Because he's never run against a woman. Well, second time he ran against Kelly, but really that's
Right, but
but he was an incumbent by then. And but the first time
exactly
around, right, it was 2 men. Okay, so basically yes, but let's get the last race. Nicole beat Austin,
correct.
a man. Kelly beat the
Steve
former mayor
Leary,
of Winter Park. Okay, a man. Okay. District 1, a woman. District 2, a woman. District 3, a woman. District 4, a woman. District 5, a woman. District 6 is. So when he asked me, what can I do to win? I said, change your gender. Because realistically, it's not that I think it's right, but it's a fact of life that men running against women for county commissioners don't stand a good chance. And the
yeah,
history has been horrible. Uh, okay. District 5, twice Emily beat 2 men.
that's
Okay.
correct.
Myra beat 2 men.
That's correct.
Uh, Nicole beat a woman and a man. So,
That's right.
uh,
So did
and Maribel beat 2 women.
2 women.
Okay. So when people tell me uh, you know, where are the perspectives here? That is it. So Orange County could survive without the help of the for our Democratic Party. As a matter of fact, it's doing very well. But the rest of the state needs your help. I'm asking Nikki, how much funds do you have to run the governor's race? How much funds do you have for the CFO? How much funds do you have for the Secretary of Agriculture? How much funds do you have for the Attorney General?
Right.
Or are you going to play the game that if you're going to be the candidate, you have to raise your own funds? We're the front of the Democratic Party. We don't do shit. Yeah. Okay. Uh, we want you to give us money so we can send out flyers that end up in the garbage can. Uh, sorry.
Jimmy, to answer your question about how many of those individuals in that particular house district that have moved into into that district, I did a quick review of the numbers. Hopefully, I'm right here. In the last 2 years, Democrats outnumber both MPAs and Republicans separately 2-1. So more Democrats have moved into this district in the last 2 years than Republicans and
Well,
non-party affiliates.
and if we're going to be honest, Orange County is a Democratic uh, county, and that's why DeSantis, that's why the Attorney General, that's why the CFO are always pissing us off because we're a Democratic county. The Republican counties are fine; they don't fuck. They're not fucked up. They might their officials might be taking payolas, but that's okay. That's acceptable in the Republican Party. Payolas are okay. Wasting money and things that they disagree with, and let's put it this way, that they have a offense. So I think it's time to go into the fuck ups of the week.
All
We have
right.
consistent. Last week I started with the Democrats. This week I'm going to start with the Republicans.
Yes.
Republicans, you cannot continue mishandling the government of the United States and then try to blame the employees of what's going wrong. You have fired a high percentage of agency employees. They are, they're all understaffed. You know that you have not spent any money to improve their software, which, by the way, before people start saying you use their software to communicate with them, like IRS, like Social Security, and other agencies. So software is not something that's only for the good of the employees. You have not invested seriously in security of these softwares at all. You have not invested in updating anything in the office, basically, but it is the fault of the employees.
Mm.
So you have to continue resolutions with the same funding that you have had for the last 5 years. Very little increase. This is putting us at risk. We could have hackers into our software, and God forbid that they enter into some of the agencies such as the IRS and Social Security, because we're fucked. Social Security has your date of birth and your Social Security number. You need anything more to ruin your life? No, you don't. You need to stop passing laws that don't help us. But realistically, it's sad to see that we have been playing this game of continual resolutions about under both parties. I'm not going to only give you, but you were the ones who said you were going to fix it. Democrats never said they're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. Everything's going to be great again. We never stopped being a great country. We still are. We just ran by the wrong people. And that is the Republican U.S. House and the U.S. Senate.
Okay.
That is your fuck up of the week. Democrats. I hate to be consistent, but I am going to be consistent. You have right now a Florida Democratic Party who's doing nothing, is not recruiting anybody, is not assisting campaigns, is not saying, hey, you want to run for the U.S. Senate? Let's sit down and discuss this with you. Let's see how we can help you. Let's open doors and go around with you. You want to run for CFO? Let me recruit somebody. You have always been and always have been a party that your candidates fall in your lap. Some are good and some are horrible. Some are qualified, but most are not. There was one thing I've always admired about the Republicans until recently is that they would train their people. They would have them be first House representative, then they would put them in the Senate, then they would sometimes even send to the U.S. Congress, and then have them run for the governorship. Ever since Rick Scott took over, who basically bought the corrupt the governorship, and some say even stole the election, the Republican Party in the state of Florida has completely abandoned training, and whoever Donald Trump says is going to be our next governor is going to be Byron Thompson. Not because he's qualified, not because he knows what he's doing, it's because he's Donald Trump's bitch. So that is something that we don't have. We don't have somebody to anoint us. Say, hey, this is the person. Vote for him. We don't have a leader, neither at the state level, neither at the national level. So basically, at this point, if you really are serious about winning elections, start raising some funds, start getting out, doing something to get the vote, start getting people registered, and start doing something. And even try to convince those NPAs to come back, because you have done nothing since the last 2 years. You are running a former Republican who's self-funding himself. You're not helping him as your leading candidate for governor, and you have nothing for attorney general. You have nothing for a CFO. You have nothing for Secretary of Agriculture. You have really nothing for the U.S. Senate. I'm sorry. You are the fuck up, not of the week, but of the year. With that, I would ask you to subscribe. You can like me, dislike me. As a matter of fact, the person who has always sent me a dislike in each and every one of my thing. Thank you. At least you're consistent. I don't know why, because you don't have the guts to say why you dislike me. You just dislike me. Hey, use your freedom of speech and tell me that you think I'm a jerk, an asshole, or whatever. I can live with that. Explain to me why you dislike me, and I can live with it, even if I disagree with you. So, with that in mind, I'm going to let you go and have fun. Have a great weekend. And remember, free speech is everything. Even if your speech offends me, leave the comment. Even if you want to say something that you want to direct that offends me, I will defend your right to free speech, just like Charlie Kirk did. Goodbye.
Take care, Jimmy. See you next time.
Hey.